Lynn Simonson, and I'm actually the founding director of Dance New Amsterdam. And 26 years ago we called it Dance Space, and we are still dancing. It's very exciting. Today I'd like to talk about the difference between rotation from the hip joint, between lateral rotation, which dancers know as turnout, and parallel rotation. This is JP, a student of mine who is taking my teacher training program here at Dance New Amsterdam. When most people of my generation began to study ballet, we were not taught to turn out from our hip joints. We were taught to turn out our feet. And that terminology of rotation from the hip was not around in the 40s. So we grew up learning to try to take, and you can stand down if you want a little bit, to stand with our feet turned out. Do you want to show that, JP? And you can stand up on this one. Don't force the turnout. So we were taught to turn with our feet way out. But what happened, because we didn't have that same turnout from the hips, is a lot of dancers started to roll in. Go ahead, roll in on your feet. Pronation at the ankles. They were not able to sustain that placement from the feet because there was actual less rotation from the hip. So I always ask JP to stand in less turnout so that the weight can fall equally through the whole foot. So JP, how would you stand moving from your hip rotation? So he's going to stand in a smaller turnout. And by the way, the average turnout, if you're standing on both legs as a right angle, it's 90 degrees, 45 each leg, and that is the average turnout of a person. So then when the modern techniques began to develop, it was also approached through the feet, and a lot of the foundation and warm-up of Horton and Graham and many of the modern techniques talked about feet parallel. Again, there was no discussion about rotation parallel from the hip. So would you please stand feet parallel? Now this is a huge problem for JP. So if you look at his feet, his weight is rolling out on the foot. And that is because from the knee down, JP has more turnout than from his hip. He has what we call tibial lateral rotation. That actually the whole tibia is more rotated outwardly than his hip joint. So luckily he saved his own life. And show us how you like to stand. But think parallel from the hip. And so for JP, parallel is parallel from the hip joint, but from the lower leg. You can see how much rotation out is in the lower leg. So if he goes through life trying to create a shape from the feet in terms of his stance, once more back to that parallel feet position, please. What's going to happen is that as he continues to dance through the years, this weight shifting outwards is going to begin to strain the joints above, the knee, the ankle, the hips, and he will be most prone to injury, more prone than other people. He is forcing a stance that is not in line with his own body. It is not what his body was meant to do. And what would happen then is when he would releve, go ahead and releve, roll out. Actually the weight would shift out, and then sometimes people can bring it in over the second toe. So good, come down. Now, the main reason, again, that this is difficult for JP is that he has more turnout from the knee down. So for him to bring his feet parallel would be as if a person with normal rotation of the lower leg were standing pigeon-toed. So if you're a dance teacher or a student, you don't have to understand this mechanically. The easiest thing to understand is that you want to feel the weight spread out on your whole foot. And if you feel that the weight is pronating one way or the other, make what adjustments in the lower leg that you need to so that foot is solidly connected to the earth. Because if your whole position of standing is already in tension, then in tension, not intention, in tension, then that will communicate to the joints above with stress. So the first line of defense and the first line of support is our feet against the earth. And we need to pay attention to that. And quite often dancers are trained to work and focus and feel the working leg, the leg that's in space or the gesture leg. But I'm more concerned about the supporting leg and the supporting foot. And may you all find happy feet.